Hi everyone, Anna Sarkeesian here, founder and CEO of Evrica Technologies and founder of the Evrica software. There is a lot of information about the benefits of Web3, about blockchain, about AI, but does it really matter? Who cares? Right? I mean, the tech tools are great, but we've been living without them for so long and we made money and we got by. But something brought you here. It's either curiosity about this space, or maybe you know me personally already and are helping me out with this view. We'll get to all of that later, but first, I want you to get to know me. Without knowing me, you won't understand why I live and breathe for smart contracts, blockchain, and AI. Let's begin. I was born in Moscow in an Armenian family, hence my last name Sarkeesian. After returning home from the war, my grandfather Jumshud was one of the greatest entrepreneurs of Baku, Azerbaijan. His business focused on commerce. He traded wines, produce, he was in all kinds of retail, and his business was a success. My father's name is Michael, and he continues my grandfather's legacy. He's an entrepreneur in oil and gas, construction, and real estate. But to his detriment, he's just a really good guy who believed in other people and trusted their word. My mother Mila has the entrepreneur bone in her as well, except in the creative space. She taught classical music, piano to be more specific, literature and poetry. And she didn't have great luck with her clients either. She would always trust someone's word, and of course she would always trust someone's signature. They would both put so much trust in the other person. So whether that's a client or another business, to make sure that they will do what was said at the exact time, especially if there's a signature involved. Because of the time that we lived in, and because of the cultural nuances of that post-Soviet era, we didn't have two dimes to rub together pretty often. Why? Because there was always an element of reliance on somebody else to perform what they actually promised to do. My dad would wait for invoices to be paid and often resort to high interest loans just to pivot, just to float through, you know? It was always a dance in pure chaos. And of course, you can take the bad apples to court, or you can stop doing business with them, or you can threaten with litigation. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do, but at the end of the day, you don't have the money. Your business suffers. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think is going to go to court over a contract? I'll answer that question for you. Large enterprises, and when the contract's value actually would make it worthwhile. Who's going to waste months in alternative dispute resolution, ADR, when at the end of the day, your children rely on that profit? I mean, we had days when we didn't have bread because we couldn't afford it. I had days when I couldn't afford to pay for the bus to get to school, so I had to walk for hours in the blizzard, and I know many of you have probably gone through the same thing. It's not fun. And the reason being is because my dad was always the nice guy, but put so much trust into the performance of other people. He didn't want to impose or be too harsh, remind to make the payments, remind to pay the invoices, follow up, play loan shark. That wasn't his ammo. He just wanted to do the right thing, always. And so he waited. He waited. We all waited. And that injustice, experiencing that injustice on myself, seeing that injustice all around, of small, medium businesses, entrepreneurs, freelancers getting lied to all the time. And now fast forward, that's how I got into law. I swore to myself that I would be an attorney, the type of lawyer that everyone calls when they need help of any kind, especially when it came to their business. So that's how I ended up being in corporate law. I graduated the best universities in Moscow, and I graduated USC, go Trojans. I went to work for big law, and then I went to work for any law you can imagine. To protect businesses. That was always the goal. Because businesses aren't just a number in an Excel spreadsheet. They're not just this statistic. It's families, it's you and it's me. The contracts we created in the law firm that I worked in, the many law firms that I worked in, were works of art, no questions asked. To justify those high legal fees, classic. The legal fees would just be always a pain to businesses to pay. So imagine corporate attorneys, the knights in shining armor who are actually supposed to do the right thing and make sure that you're safe, can only work with medium to large businesses who can even retain them. What about small businesses, entrepreneurs? Tough luck. But that's just one side of the problem. We drafted great contracts. We analyzed every single side of every transaction to calculate its risk, of course, and provide recommendations to mitigate that risk. First of all, that would take months to do. And for all my M&A attorneys out there, it can take up to, a year? And guess who got to play the loan shark now? Me. Just wanted to follow up with your billing department to ensure the payment was submitted. Now, as I was helping out the more fortunate, the larger businesses, entrepreneurs and freelancers, small and medium business owners would call me all the time. And I felt that it was always my duty to protect them because I see my family, you know? Everyone who's trying to make it. I see my grandfather, I see my father, I see my mother, I see myself. Everyone who I love and care for, I see them in these people. So fast forward to 2016. I got dragged to my very first blockchain conference by a client who had money to play with, and he was investing into crypto at that time. Now, mind you, this was 2016, my very first experience with blockchain. I didn't know what was going on, but something happened that day. I heard about smart contracts being built on blockchain. So I educated myself for years on the sideline while I was helping out small, medium businesses, entrepreneurs. I was learning that entire time about AI, about cryptocurrencies, about blockchain, and most importantly, about smart contracts. It clicked. I'm not even kidding. It clicked. The solution. I thought to myself, if only there was a platform that existed where parties can make deals and these contracts had their own unique ID, the entire negotiation process was fully traceable, then who would even be interested in messing with anyone else? What if these contracts would be scheduled and set off automatically? And what if every sign-off happened at the occurrence of certain events with automated payments? That's smart contracts. They are contracts, but they're smart. I wanted for someone like my father to assemble the template, not knowing anything about law, choose his party, and make sure that the party's legit. Set the terms, and record every communication about that transaction that's ever existed. And the entire transaction is automated. I wanted someone like my mother, who's a creative, to not have to worry about being lied to or let down. I wanted a platform where businesses can log in, assemble the template, choose the terms. Upon confirmation that the terms are met by the other party, the payment goes through. It's automatic. I wanted smart contracts to be accessible for everyone. So I created it. We created it. And it's called Evrica. See it in action for yourself. But before you do see it, let's get a few things straight. Let's familiarize ourselves with a few concepts. Blockchain isn't just code. It's lines of code, also called hash sums. It's a database that stores encrypted information in batches. Smart contracts are the programs that are stored on the blockchain that run when predetermined conditions are met. They typically are used to automate the execution of an agreement, so that all participants can be immediately certain in the outcome without any intermediary involvement, without time loss. They provide transparency just because the history of the transactions are stored in the blockchain. Every transaction has its unique identifier, its unique hash code. Think of every transaction having its own fingerprint. Think about how much time people will save with automated payments. I personally have to wait 10 days for my bank to clear a wire transfer to a new party. 10 days. Smart contracts are the only contracts that should ever even exist, provided that they're made by pros and are legally compliant. Are you with me so far? Okay. Who gets to analyze the risk factor of every transaction? Artificial intelligence. That's analyzed. Financial, legal data, regulatory compliance, aka due diligence or doc review. Now I want to ask you a question. Who do you know in your life who puts too much trust into people? I wanted to build a platform and utilize technology to bring it to the little guys so that they become the big guys. Because guess what? All this technology is already used by big corporations, but now everyone can use it because businesses are families and families are nothing without trust. Businesses have so many other things to worry about, to grow, and now they don't have to worry because Evrica is here.